In the 2024 general election, Wendy Morton managed to keep her seat when many of her fellow Conservative Party members could not. Still, her vote plummeted from over 70% in 2019 to below 40%. This suggests her one-safe seat, which has been Conservative for 50 years, could change hands next time around. Labour has come second since the party won the seat in 1974. But the challenge may come from Reform UK. The party was the biggest gainer in the 2024 general election, securing almost a quarter of the vote. In the recent local elections, Reform also managed to take control of most of the council seats that fall in the constituency. But in this video, let's have a look at her seat Aldridge-Brownhills before looking at Morton's own career, including her 2-month stint as Conservative Chief Whip during the short Liz Truss government. So first, let's have a look at Aldridge-Brownhills and see what local concerns may influence the constituency voters the next time they go to the polls. The constituency of Aldridge-Brownhills is located in the West Midlands, just to the northeast of Birmingham. In its north is the town of Brownhills, which was shaped by coal mining and the Industrial Revolution, expanding rapidly around deep pit coal mining and the canal network. There's still a legacy of this today, such as with the annual Brownhills Canal Festival, which attracts thousands of visitors to the area to see the narrowboats on the water. According to local historian Bev Parker, the name of Brownhills might come from the coal spoil heaps that covered the area, left by the many mines. And coal mining remained the main industry until the 1950s, when many of the mines were essentially exhausted, leading to long-term economic decline in the local area. While there have been efforts to address this, they have sometimes failed to take off as perhaps wanted. For example, the town features the Ravenscourt Shopping Centre, built in the 1960s with the aim to rejuvenate the high street. However, the centre didn't settle in and has been derelict for more than a decade. After other attempts at redevelopment, more recently the supermarket Aldi bought up most of the site. But Aldi's efforts have also fallen through, and the council has made plans to buy the shopping centre itself. On the other hand, Bev Parker suggests that the settlements in the south of the constituency did better, developing steadily over the 20th century and becoming affluent commuter suburbs. In fact, Aldridge's population grew about tenfold in the first 8 decades of the last century, partly due to transport developments, enabling the commute to Birmingham and the surrounding areas. Even local legend Ozzy Osbourne bought a house for his parents in Aldridge. The town's home to several factories and industrial estates, though some of the more established firms have closed in recent years. These include GKN's vehicle parts factory, which shut down in the 2010s, and McKechnie Brass, which may have been the UK's last brass maker. Zooming out, despite the presence of such industry, the constituency acts as a buffer between the urban West Midlands and the rural countryside of Staffordshire, with around 58% of the constituency being Greenbelt land. And while it borders the more densely populated and diverse urban areas to its east and south, Aldridge-Brownhills is more similar in some ways to its neighbours in the north and west, which have a higher percentage of white inhabitants and of over 65s. Walsall Council also suggests that the area is a destination for the over 65s and that this age group will continue to grow over the next couple of decades. This may suggest the need for infrastructure improvements. Indeed, one key issue for many constituents is that the constituency has no passenger rail station, despite having an active freight line. Aldridge Station shut following the government's beaching cuts in the mid-1960s. This means commuters need to rely on the road network. At least they do have the M6 toll, which runs just above the constituency, and the M6, which is just to the south. Still, for those wanting or needing the train, a £30 million project has been proposed to build a rail station, gaining government backing in 2023. However, following the election of a new West Midlands mayor and a review of transport projects in 2024, the plan was delayed. The report suggested there wasn't full funding for the project, and it's currently unclear if it'll go ahead. So let's return to the constituency's MP, Wendy Morton. As noted, she won Aldridge-Brownhills in the 2024 general election, retaining the seat she first won in 2015, though the boundaries of the seat did change a little in the last general election, with it absorbing territory from the abolished Walsall South seat. Morton was born in North Yorkshire in November 1967, also being brought up in the area. After attending the local comprehensive school, she earned a Master's of Business Administration through the Open University. In her early career in the late 1980s, she worked for the diplomatic service at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office before moving into the private sector to work in sales and marketing. But after her husband left the Royal Navy, the couple established DM Electronics in the early 1990s. The firm manufactures electronic components for the agricultural industry, and according to her parliamentary registered interests, she appears to remain a shareholder in the company. Still, she resigned her position of secretary and co-director of the firm in 2018, which seems to have come around the time she took her first government roles. But I'll get back to that in a second. Her earlier path in politics included being elected to Richmondshire District Council in North Yorkshire in 2001. But this came to an end when she and her husband both resigned from the council in 2006. This happened just after her husband apparently swore and lunged at a fellow councillor during an already ongoing incident concerning efforts to look into alleged bullying by the couple and others. The couple, along with 3 others, were found guilty of bullying through a council commission investigation. However, they were cleared by the Standards Board for England, which, at the time, oversaw ethical standards and a code of conduct at the level of local government. She had just run for a parliamentary seat, Newcastle upon Tyne Central, in the 2005 general election, coming third to Labour's Jim Cousins. But leaving the council position didn't deter her path in politics, as she stood again for a parliamentary seat in Tynemouth in 2010, coming second to Labour again. She also lost out in 2014, this time to a member of her own party, with her losing the candidacy for the former North Yorkshire constituency of Richmond to future Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Nevertheless, she finally secured a position in Parliament by winning Aldridge-Brownhills. Since being elected, she has held a number of posts in Westminster, her first being that of Assistant Whip under Theresa May in early 2018, and a key part of this role is basically to ensure that MPs in her party vote, and that they do so in the way the party wants. Prior to this, she also successfully managed to secure 2 private members' bills, referring to proposals that are introduced by regular members of Parliament. One passed in 2017 attempts to improve accountability at the local level by giving journalists the ability to access audit documentation. The other, from 2016, ensured that Great Ormond Street Hospital Children's Charity will keep the royalties to J.M. Barrie's play Peter Pan. In the time since, Morton's held a number of under-secretary roles, the lower of the 2 junior minister positions in government. These included for Justice, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and the Department of Transport. In 2022, Morton reached the peak of her career, at least until now, becoming the Chief Whip under Liz Truss. As noted, she held the position for less than 2 months, during the turbulent time under the then Prime Minister. According to the BBC, Morton attempted to resign from the post herself, but Truss refused. This attempted resignation was over a vote in Parliament on fracking on the 19th of October 2022, over which there was a high degree of confusion. It was apparently unclear to the Tory MPs whether it was being treated as a vote of confidence in the Truss government. Morton described what happened after the vote herself as chaos, and the Truss government fell apart shortly after. By the end of the 25th of October, just a few days after the vote, Morton's former rival for Richmond, Rishi Sunak, was Prime Minister, and Morton was no longer Chief Whip. Around the same time, Morton was also caught up in another media story. As reported by Tortoise, Morton made a complaint to her party about fellow MP Gavin Williamson just before Truss resigned. Morton accused Williamson of threatening behaviour. Just after, despite the complaint, Williamson was appointed as a minister in Sunak's government. However, more accusations of bullying followed, and Williamson resigned on the 8th of November. Morton sat on the backbenches of her party until she returned to the Conservative frontbench in November 2024, when she became the Shadow Minister for the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, a junior shadow ministerial position. But if she's to move up further again, there's obviously the question of whether she can retain her seat. And dealing with local issues might just make the difference. Morton's list of local campaign focuses include the protection of the Greenbelt, safety, local regeneration, and other issues such as transport. To see her work on these areas, we can look at her written questions in Parliament, which are essentially requests MPs use to get information from government ministers and on-the-record answers. For example, she has raised questions on several occasions about the implications of so-called grey belt and brownfield development, and what it could mean for the Greenbelt and the West Midlands. It's also the case that she has joined protesters who have demonstrated against the building of homes on Greenbelt land in her constituency. She has also asked questions regarding the adequacy of local police office numbers and funding, as well as crime issues such as shoplifting and fly tipping, with the latter being an issue at the derelict Ravenscourt Brownhill site. And in line with the transport needs of her constituency, on several occasions she's asked about the situation around the proposed Aldridge train station, including about funding and, since its delay, if the government has engaged with the local mayor on the project. But only the vote next time will tell if these efforts have been enough in the eyes of her voters, and if the Conservative Party could lose Aldridge-Brownhills for the first time in half a century. And so, thank you for watching. If you're interested in these sorts of things, please consider subscribing.